of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. A good teller of good tales. By popular request, I've invited Stewart Cameron to come back and tell more stories, because storytelling has had a great resurgence. Children, grown-ups, everyone are fascinated by Stewart's stories. I've heard him before, and he did one show with me before telling stories, and I knew that it would get a great response. I certainly enjoyed them very much. We'll talk a little bit about storytelling, but mostly we'll listen to Stewart Cameron telling stories. And if you would like Stewart to tell you stories, his phone number will be under his name when he's telling them, so you could call him anytime, and he would be glad, as he said, to tell a story anywhere, any place, anytime, for almost any money. No, he didn't say that. The fee is negotiable. Welcome back, Stewart. I enjoyed your.
It's nice being here.
I enjoyed your two stories, your ballad and your stories that you told last time on the last show, and I just think that we should talk a little bit about where you have been telling stories in Sudbury. Where in Toronto?
Well, I've been telling at various schools, primarily here in Sudbury. I'm working out of the Spectral program of Northern Lights, which is a school's program that a reservoir of talent in the Sudbury area, including myself as a storyteller and folk musician, but there's other performers and craftspeople and visual artists and dramatists and dance people who go into the schools on a regular basis and display their talents and do workshops with the kids in the schools.
Sometimes you go into the school just for a one-shot deal to tell stories.
Yes.
But what do you really like to do?
Well, I like the most exciting thing is to work with kids over a number of sessions, perhaps over a number of days, or in a number of weeks, one session a week or something like that, and actually interest them in telling stories, and then be able to stimulate that interest, catch hold of it, and get them to find their own tales and tell it amongst themselves. There have been some sessions I've been involved with, not here in Sudbury as of yet, but in Toronto, where kids have actually been stimulated this way by a performer such as myself going in to tell stories, and then a project being set by the kids themselves to put together a performance of storytelling amongst themselves to the other grades in their school. In fact, that's how my daughter got into storytelling, as a matter of fact, that Dan Yashinsky came to her school, put on a presentation, and spontaneously got a group going at her school to do this to the other kids in the schools, and
so there's a good follow-up. So when the storyteller comes in and gets everyone motivated and the teachers are interested, there's a follow-up that the children then, the students themselves, will want to do it and share the stories with. That's a great idea. And not just for children, again, but for adults.
Yes, definitely. I've got interested in stories myself as an adult, so I know that they have some appeal to some adults anyway. Certainly they have to me. I got into storytelling through my exposure to the British folk tradition and ballads in particular, where the ballads, as you know, have a very strong story element to them. And indeed, that's what attracted me to the British folk tradition in the first place.